What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the word education? Usually we think of it as the process that takes us from here to here, but actually, from the very moment we are born, we stop acting just on instinct and start learning new things. We educate ourselves, and that never stops. It's through education that we learn to socialize, to read, and to solve problems. We can get to know about the past and move on to reducing poverty, inequality, and improving the future. The incredible human capacity to learn is what separates us from them. Precisely for it being so essential to us, we need to know if we are, as a species, good at it, or at least if we have been getting better with time. The United Nations publishes every year, as part of the HDI, an index specific on education. They base the calculations on expected and mean years of schooling. The lowest possible value is 0 and the max is 1. This is what the world looked like in 1980. Each bar represents a country. Niger was the worst of all, with 0.06. Australia was at the top, with 0.87. Brazil was somewhere in the middle, with 0.36. All 129 UN countries at the time averaged about zero point 0.4. Now watch how the world evolved from that moment all the way to 2013. Observe a general improvement. All the bars grow, and little by little, new countries are added to the index. Shall we see that again? This time, I will highlight the 3 countries I mentioned. Niger is still at the bottom, but now its index is zero point 0.2 instead of 0.06. It more than tripled its value in 30 years. Brazil moved up from 0.34 to 0.66, literally improving 100%. Australia, which was already up there, is still first with 0.93, although the competition is much closer. The whole world's average moved up 50%, but beware, this average value includes all of these top 30 countries that were already pretty great back in 1980. If we look at just the bottom 30, you will find that they improved 123%. Although the top 30 seem to be slowing down, the bottom 30 are picking up the pace and getting better even faster. Do you know what that means? It means that the world inequality is shrinking little by little. It is important to consider that for Australia, for instance, to move from here to here means a big investment, even though the improvement does not seem too great. You need a lot of money to improve schools that were already pretty great to start with. On the other hand, to go from here to here is way cheaper, but even more meaningful. The difference in the future of a kid who goes to primary school and can read and write compared to another one who has never seen a classroom is huge. Education in the world has been improving, but one can only see and study this effect in the long term. It took Niger all this time to go from basically zero to the level where Bangladesh already was 30 years ago. Another way to view that is that the last country in the ranking is 30 years behind the country which today is here. As much as we see inequality shrinking, don't be fooled. It still exists and still is very large. This is some pretty good data, and we are just scratching the surface by looking at 2 isolated metrics, expected and mean years of schooling, which happens to be what the UN considers in the HDI. Are you surprised with the evolution of the world, or did you expect this? I just mentioned the difference that literacy can make in a person's life. UNESCO has the data on literacy in people between 15 and 24 years old. This surprises a lot of people, but about 90% of the population this age has basic reading and writing skills, and this number increases by about 3% per decade. There is a lot more data available online. I put links in the descriptions to several trustworthy sources in case you want to go deeper. But now that we know how the world is as a whole, I want to change gears and think about these questions. What are the different options that countries have to structure their education system? And if each country chooses its own path, how can we compare performance across them? Fortunately, most countries see the importance of education. That is why lots of governments not only offer free schooling, but also make primary schooling mandatory. What changes from place to place is quality and coverage. Take Finland, for example. They have a very small amount of private schools. Almost all Finnish people have reschooling, from kindergarten, preschool, primary school, high school, all the way to college. It even includes meals if the students are there for the entire day. South Korea, on the other hand, has a hybrid model with both private and public schools. Regardless of that, both the Finnish and Korean systems are seen as some of the best in the world. And something else, in Finland, primary education is mandatory. Do you know where else it is? Niger. However, Finnish literacy rate is 100%, whereas in Niger it is around 30%. It helps nothing to mandate and offer public schools if quality and coverage are lacking. Just the way your country structures its education system does not guarantee effectiveness. Regardless of how each one does it, some are obviously better than others. So somehow we need a way to compare the results to try to understand what the successful ones do and apply that to the rest. Several tests and studies allow us to compare education among different countries. For example, there is the UN Education Index that I mentioned before, but it is too narrow, taking into account just two metrics. Something more interesting is PISA. It's sponsored by OECD and basically applies math, sciences, and literature tests for 15-year-old students. By doing that, it goes straight to what matters, the quality of the education of these children. PISA is done since the year 2000, every 3 years. The last result we have is from 2012, and these are the top 10 countries in each test with their grades. The Asian countries dominate the first positions. Look at Finland right here, very well in sciences and literature. Australia, with the highest UN education index in the world, is not even in the top 10. It's also worth mentioning Pearson's ranking. They evaluate the results of tests like PISA and TIMSS, gather up other statistical data, and come up with a ranking. Again, we see Asian countries at the top. In total, they evaluate 40 countries. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever stopped to look into how your country structures its education system? You really should. Go look it up and then confront it with the results of tests like the one I showed here. Your own education is by far the best investment you can make in yourself, so you better be very well informed about it. If you like this video, don't forget to rate and share it. Feel free to put your thoughts out there in the comment section below and look through the links in the description. Also subscribe to know when other videos are posted.